Hello, welcome to Mindset to Results. And today our guest is Dr. José Van Den Akker, and she is a art therapist. Today we will speak about paradigms, identity, and mind. Hello, Dr. Jose.
Hello, Elena. How are you going?
Great, excited to speak about mind today and paradigms because
Mhm.
they affect and do so much in our life.
Yep, that's right.
So,
Yes.
before we start, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you found this passion and why you do what you do?
Oh, okay. So I've always been interested in spirituality, and I've always been interested in human beings, like who are we actually, and and also in communication between human beings. So, what's happening in the space in between one person and another, and one person and their environment? And how can we be more responsible for ourselves and our environment in interaction? That's basically the guts of it. And so I did all sorts of education for it, and yeah, I've worked in the community and became an academic um, and work as an art therapist. And as a coach, I offer workshops to people in personal development, basically, and communication and understanding, helping them to understand themselves better in
Yeah,
interaction with the environment. Mhm.
yeah, amazing. I think that world needs more people like you because all our results are spiritual. Our results directly depend on the level of our awareness and
Mm,
our consciousness.
absolutely. It impacts the environment directly. Like I just, uh, I'm not sure, I'm jumping in straight away because I'm just thinking of a workshop that I ran recently. And I offered all this material on what the mind actually is and who we are, what the human condition is, and how we are being conditioned. And so that one person in particular, she was, well, I can't say that she was in a mess now. She was in good shape because she had her physical condition had improved heaps, and so, but she wanted to understand what was actually going on. Who was she? Why was her family playing up? And I mean, in particular, her children. And so, as she got to know herself better throughout the course, and came to understand how we are being conditioned, and she recognized those patterns inside herself, she got the bigger picture, as I call it. Like she got a better grasp of who she really is as a spiritual being having a human experience. And so she well, anyway, the result was that her child, who used to be out of focus and played up in class in school, and yeah, was pretty noisy. Well, yeah, played up, like made um, arguments and that sort of stuff. But anyway, so what happened is that as a result of her participating in the workshops and becoming more aware of who she is, her child actually became focused. And at school, he was doing great work now, and he interacted with the other people and behaved well. And also inside the home with the family, as part of the family. So the family dynamics have improved heaps as a result. So yes, and she was amazed. Like she said at one point, "Is this really me who's because of me that the family's changing?" And I said, yes. And then after a couple of weeks later, she got it. She said, I definitely, it's me who's changing my environment.
Yes, so every change starts from within.
Every change starts within. If you want to change your environment, go within. but you need to get the right kind of education. And so I had about 14 years of training. I was taught by a Maori tohonga. It's called in Maori tradition, you have medicine men, and they're called tohonga. And so he was one of them. And so he taught me heaps about the human condition and about who we are as spiritual beings. And so the course that I ran, for example, and most of my work, even in my PhD, revolved around the learnings that I gained from him.
Oh, that is so interesting. So, would you like to share some of these teachings of your teacher?
Yeah, so some of the teachings are that I've created my own language around it, but I'm still using his language, but I've also created my own language. So like what I've come to understand over time is that how we are being conditioned as human beings. We are sensitive beings, first off. Yeah. So we are energy beings. And so as spiritual beings, we choose to come into this body here in this present time and space. And in a particular environment, we choose a particular environment. And so that environment reflects what we need to learn. And so that environment conditions us. So, for example, we go to school and we get all this information that is paradigm controlled, like it's created by people who believe in a particular, who assume a particular paradigm, like they believe, for example, that everyone is separate. Everything is, they've got an atomistic or reductionist kind of viewpoint on the human being. So they don't see the human being as body, mind, spirit, but they see the human being as body and mind. So very focused on just the body and the mind, as in the mind is the brain, whereas the mind, in my understanding, is the mind is we have the big mind, which is like the quantum field, as we can also call it, or the uh, great consciousness, the different levels of consciousness that we are part of and that are rest within us too. And then we have the small mind, which is like the identity, the how we identify ourselves. So my name is Jose, for example, and I'm a woman. I identify as a woman, and I have family in Holland, and I was born in Holland, and all those things. That's this package, this body mind package, is called Jose, and so. And yours is called Elena, and that's how we communicate. And so, but beyond that, like in space, even in between, and that's what I researched, for example, when I did my thesis, when I did my PhD, is the space in between. And I explored like the space in between when people from different cultures, which is true in our case, like you're from Ukraine, I believe, and I'm from the Netherlands. And so we grew up in a culture that assumed a particular paradigm. And even though it might look similar, there are also differences, and we'd notice it if we were friends and we'd had a cup of tea, for example, and even we'd notice just tiny differences in our ways of thinking and behaving, just because we've been conditioned in a particular way. So culture has a huge influence on us, and it's paradigm controlled, with religion we often weaving into it, and past cultural practices and all that, which is so as a culture we are we condition one another, so to speak, and as families we condition one another as well. So our fathers and mothers, or institutions that we are raised in, they condition us and like uh, tell us that the world is consists of individual human beings, and that the planet Earth is round, and that that everything is separate basically. And so yes, whereas the new paradigm that's now become more and more mainstream, not totally, but and certainly not in education. But what more and more people are becoming aware of is the quantum uh, field, which is also a paradigm, and it's a particular way of looking at the world. But at least it's it allows people to understand how who we really are, that we are like in this huge, that we are part of this huge soup of consciousness, so to speak, and that lies within us as well. And so when we meditate, for example, we can access those parts. But how what I do is like I also give information to people about what the mind actually is, and that what paradigms, for example, are, and what implants are, and what energy fields are, and chakrams, like how we present ourselves, and that we what we project out, that's being reflected back to us for us to experience life on Earth, and not necessarily believe that that's the only experience we have as spiritual beings, because like we exist elsewhere as well within the big mind. So yes, does that
Okay,
give you?
yes, great. So let's speak a bit more about each of these, what you mentioned. So, as you said, we are conditioned to think the certain way, and we are also conditioned to think about ourselves the certain way. So, that
Yes.
image which we have about ourselves was not made by us if we don't create it consciously and by intention. As we know, most people uh, are not in personal development. Yeah, yes, like masses of people, they just live as they have been conditioned, and
Hmm.
they just accepted that image which parents created for them or teachers created for them, and what they were told that they are good at and what they're maybe not good at, and they just accepted all those different opinions. I said this, yeah, opinions of other people on them. Yes,
Hmm.
and because they didn't study themselves,
Hmm.
or by other words, we say if we don't study ourselves, we will just continue living other people's lives. Because in order to start living our life, we have to find ourselves and we have to recreate ourselves. Yes, because it is like carrying something that don't belong to us if we don't do it consciously. That was so important, because people look usually outside of themselves, and they look at government or economy or other people, and they blame outside factors for their results. But what is really happening, that we are the cause of our results. There is the cause and effect, and the results are effect, and we are the cause. Yes, so
Hmm.
let's speak
That's
about,
one.
yes.
But you said we have to recreate ourselves, but my biggest thing is there's no such thing as needing to recreate. It's about recognition who we really are, and it's
Yes.
actually about rediscovering who we really are. And so it ties in with the memory. I call it like the memory bank, like all the memories that are in this life that we've had and that still have a physical imprint, and that we in the field around us. And so um yeah, it's about us becoming more and more conscious of how we who we really are, how we interconnect with our environment, um and and who we are in that environment, and also not only as individuals but as, yeah, it's like there's different layers. You may have heard about, um like we have the physical body and we have the astral body and we have these different bodies, and as such we interact with the big conscious field, with the big quantum field on all these different levels at all times. So it's not about recreate. Yes, we are creative beings and we can recreate, but it's mainly my job is I'm most concerned about people rediscovering, remembering who we are. Like all the knowledge is already here, but it's just about unpacking and getting the right information um, to be able to get a grip, get a better understanding and recognizing, oh, okay, right, I got it. I knew it all along, but now I can actually see it. And that's what I like the work that I did with Dave. Like and what I'm teaching is none of it is foreign to people. It's just nobody has ever told people who we really are and how we are being conditioned. And so once people hear or read um, how we are being conditioned, it's like, now I understand. It's like the puzzle starts to, yeah, fall into place. It starts, the bigger picture becomes obvious. Yeah.
Yes, I'm totally agree. As you say, we have discovered ourselves, and that's why when we discover
Rediscover.
ourselves, then we create that new self-image which based on who we are, right? Like before, we have self-image
Yeah.
which was created by other people, and through
Mhm.
discovering ourselves we have to recreate, yes, recreate to see, start seeing ourselves as the new person, as the new identity, right? Like
No, it's
something
just being
really,
us. It's
yes,
just being
yes.
ourselves. Yeah.
But sometimes actually being yourself also, it comes from understanding that who you were told by other people who you were. It was not you, right?
Mm.
So then through discovering and you create actually, because maybe it is just different perception,
Yeah.
but I see ourselves like we are creators, and also from understanding and discovering ourselves we also create our new self-image. We see who I am, or who I want to see myself as that person. And like actors in the movie, they get the script, they read the script, they embody the script, and they perform the way how that when we watch the movie we think that this is like it's real life, it feels like that, right? So
Yes.
in our personal development we become the star of our movie, that is our life, and we
Mhm.
can
Yes.
create our own script. We
Yes.
can create the person who we really want to be.
Yeah.
Of
How
course
I
this is
how
who we are, but we
mm,
have to do this process. Otherwise, if we don't do this process we just continue living other people patterns.
yes. And like what I say in my work, we are both the author and we are the book. We are both the sculptor, the sculptor, like the person who creates the sculptures, and the sculpture. We are both the yeah. So the
Yes.
artist, we are the artist, and we are the art piece. Yeah.
Yes, of course, because there is perfection in us, right? Our DNA is perfect, and we
Mm.
have to clean all those viruses, all those imperfections, which as layers were put on us since we were born. We have to clean that and find out what is our genius, what is our strength, and start seeing picture of ourselves from that perception as potentially who we are and
Mm.
how we discover ourselves.
Mm.
Yes. Yes, it is always interesting to discuss, yeah, like because it is like everybody can add value because they look from their perception, and that is why these conversations are so valuable.
Yeah, so like this, when you just on that, like that's also stuff that I teach people to have a look at something from different viewpoints. And like in this world of us, we have like as many people as there are. That's how many viewpoints there are on whatever is going on within and around us. And so what's happening in our world is that we are basically, because of the media and whoever is in power in this external world, they set us up against one another. But really, and so that communication becomes quite difficult. So when we buy into those indoctrinations, so to speak, but when we know that any viewpoint is a viewpoint, it's a way of looking at the world. It's not wrong or right, it's just a viewpoint. It's like, you know, you stand on top of a rock and you have a different viewpoint than when you stand on down on the ground in the valley and you're looking up at the mountain. When you stand on top of the mountain, you have a different viewpoint than when you're down in the valley. So when you're in the car, you have a different viewpoint than when you're a pedestrian on the road. So they're not wrong. One's not wrong or the other, and the other one better. It's just different viewpoints, and we can assume them all. But by making one wrong and the other one right, it's like that creates huge confusion in people, and that's when they feel they have to fight and that we need to go to war and all those crazy things that are happening in this world now, which have got nothing to do with anything. And it's yeah, it's so when people realize that, and they come to terms with the idea of, oh yeah, my viewpoint on the world is just a viewpoint, and whatever my child is saying is not a viewpoint. There's no right or wrong. So yeah, we can sort of ease off on creating so much tension in this world.
Yeah, so we are here to help people to learn all these different ideas, right? And create more value so people can see different perceptions and see the world a better place.
Yes.
So
So
let's speak.
part of
Yeah.
part of my work is to dialogue, and like again in my PhD I talked a lot about it because I was talking about cross-cultural dynamics. I was exploring them. And so where did I just go? Sorry, I just missed it. um
Yeah, so let's speak about results. How people ask themselves, how can I improve my life?
how
Everybody
people
comes in and they want to better life, and sometimes they work hard and they set big goals, but still they're not there where they want to be. There is
yeah
so many people who have anxiety, depression, and not clear about the future. So let's speak about that, how people can improve their lives
yeah
by
starts
understanding.
with it starts with curiosity and willingness to get out of the hole that they're in, or the loop that they're in. And so, as an art therapist, for example, people reach out to me and they say, I want help. And so, like as an art therapist, for example, like if a person experiences life as being in a loop, then I ask them to draw, for example, like what that loop looks like or and feels like. And so by immersing themselves in that process, and then later, after the art piece is finished, we unpick it. We look into the drawing in this case, or it could be a 3D sculpture, and then unravel what's in there. What did a person try to symbolize, and what is the image actually saying? What is it telling us? And so then people get often a different perspective on the whole thing. So that's my work as an art therapist. But then also, when a person wants to improve their lives, it's important that they get um, education. So, education, as I said before, on what the mind actually is. How are we actually being conditioned? And yeah, and then obviously, yeah, like people people choose different ways of like they can go to cancer, or they can go to an NLP person, or they can go and do yoga classes, or whatever they want to do. So it helps for a person to become quite clear on what is it actually that they want. How would they like, what would they like to improve in their lives? Would they like to have better relationships in their life? Would they like to have better health? Would they like to understand themselves better? Would they like to be able to communicate better with other people? And all these things are possible, and people can um, achieve those goals. And then it's for them to find the person um, that it's like a resonance that they resonate with.
Mm-hmm.
And often the intuition, people just find people, and yeah, yeah, like I find that people find me. It's often I don't market much, and people just find me because somewhere or other they come on my path, and that's how it works. And that's how the universe works too. Like if I make less of an issue about like having to sell my stuff, and I actually am willing to reflect on like when we push too hard, people feel it because we are sensory beings. And so the more we go inside, the charge comes off, and we people resonate with that peace that they feel. And like in because we're all in one big energy soup, that the law of attraction basically starts to apply. Yeah. So
Yes.
mm,
Okay. So, first thing is to find big goal. Yes, to find big goal. Everything starts from that. And what is your why? Yes. So, the, people can improve something that they really know why they want to do that, and get focused about that,
mm, yes,
and attract instead of chasing. This is another thing which you
yes,
mentioned.
hmm,
So know what you want, but don't be in the place that you need something, that neediness shouldn't be there. Should become person and see yourself in your mind as that already happened, and be that person. You don't need to do anything like have anything physically like money for that or something. You have just to become that person, be there, right? And this is how the law of attraction happens.
yeah. But
Be
that's quite advanced. A lot of people that I'm working with, they're not at that stage yet. They have to, yeah. So they just need someone to guide them along. So they have that need met of having that guidance, and then eventually they can walk on their own.
Yes,
Is
they need the guidance, but they don't need that thing. Like
no,
they shouldn't
no,
come from the place of neediness. Of
yes,
course, everybody, and yeah, everybody can shorten the gap and find that fastest, shortest way by
yes,
having mentors and having teachers. Yeah,
yeah,
but how these results are created, they don't are not created from the place of neediness of that,
yeah,
because it is, if you need something, you feel that I need this, I have to have this, it
mhm,
means that you don't have it. You come from the place of not having. Yes, and you just tell yourself every time that you don't have that, and
yes,
this is why you don't have that, because you come from that place. But
mhm,
if you come from the place of abundance, that you know that it is there for you, and you work on yourself to become better person, to become more valuable, and you see that as already it is fulfilled, this is how you start attracting teachers and people and everything what is needed for
mhm,
getting there.
mhm. Right. Okay. Hey, just wondering, is it getting too dark? Like it's late at night here, so
Oh,
is
just
it?
totally fine. I
Can I
still can
still?
see.
You can still see me? Okay. Okay. Good. I just wonder if I need to switch the light on.
No, just totally fine. If you like, you can. Yeah. So, what you would like to, if would be three big things which you learned from your teacher, or which you discovered in your life that really affected your life, that help you to understand yourself better, to get more results. What would that be?
Um, Having the willingness to um, to look within. And you can't, and I can't look within without having the right kind of education. So that's what I've made my life mission, I guess, always. Like, who am I? Who are we as human beings? Mm. So I've found the right circumstances, the right teachers as I went. So that's that, and basically that's one of the things that I teach other people as well. So there's a series of course guidelines, for example, that I teach, and one of them is, well, oh, I don't know. There's a whole list. It's a long list, but it's basically about finding your own way, by just being here and being here for self and being here for others, and just being here and taking one step at a time. And yeah, and that there's no right and wrong. It's always, everything is always just as it should be, and just the way it is, to accept that too. So, but then, yeah, so what else I've learned? um 3 things you were saying. um
Yeah, maybe
Hard
something
to
that
go.
maybe something that you share in your course that people can start implementing and see results.
Yeah, so it's
Would
that
be
thing of
something
assuming
like-
different viewpoints.
Mhm.
I practice that a lot still myself, and that's also what I teach. So, for example, we have do like a person, like we can look at something. We can look at the cup, for example. I'll just grab like like a little bottle. We can look at this. Ooh, with a feather around it. I don't know if you can see. It might be too dark. Shall I switch the light on?
Yes, of course, as you wish.
There. Not sure it makes a difference. So, there's this little bottle of oil, ylang ylang. And so, say you see it from one angle and I see it from this angle. You see but I cannot see it from this angle. So if I have a fixed viewpoint and I only look at the bottle from this angle, and you look at the bottle from your angle, and we say, no, what you see is just right, whatever wrong, whatever you see the word shilangele, what are you talking about? I don't see that here on this side, because this is the side that I see.
Mhm.
So, and it's like that with everything. So when I practice and when I teach, I ask people to look at, uh, to consider again that idea of that everything that we look at, we always have an opinion on whatever it is and whoever it is. We have an opinion on everything, but it's always and only a viewpoint,
Mhm.
because of this very fact. Like, and when I turn it to the side, you see that side now, and I see another side. And now, because you've seen that, and I can see a little glimpse of this side that you saw earlier on, now I can see a bit more of your viewpoint, and you can see a bit more of mine. And then, so we keep turning it around, and oh, whoop-de-doo, now I get it. Now I know. Ah, now I see the word lang, and you see whatever I saw. And so now we have practiced a roving viewpoint, as we call it. Like, so rather than having a fixed viewpoint, a fixed position on something, we sit back a little while and or talk with a few people, and then we get a different viewpoint on whatever is going on for us.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
or,
So yes, great. So it is called perception. Yes, this
yeah,
is our high mental faculty,
yeah,
perception, which helps us to see the things from different point of view, and even we can think like what that person would think about this situation, or what
mm,
that person would think about this situation, and just
yes,
go into the mind of that person, how he would see we can change also our perception. This is
Oh,
very good
yes, that's right.
to do. Yeah, when the person has the problem, it's
Mhm,
very big problem. Yes, so this is what usually is recommended to do: to write the problem, to put it in the middle of the table,
mhm.
to take it out of your head, put it in written, and then think like, okay, so which people I respect, which people I would like to, for example, know their perception about this, and just go around the table and sit and think, oh, I'm that person now. If he would see the problem, what
Oh,
he would
okay.
think, and then I'm that person. If that person would look at this, and looking at the same
Okay.
situation from different people, we
Mhm.
can see, oh, so it is not even big problem. It is just something that I thought big, but that as I imagine myself being different people looking at this, oh, now I can have some totally different view. Yes, this
Yes,
is our ability as humans to change our perception, and
yes.
it is really very helpful. Yes,
Mm.
and what else?
And beyond that, beyond the perception is the the fact that we perceive. Like, who's the perceiver here? Who is that?
Mhm.
Who is the one who actually perceives? And that's that intangible us, the spiritual us. And so, yeah, so that's the third thing that I would like to point out here. So there's the yeah, I think I've got the three things covered now, right? So
Yes.
yeah, that intangible being, who we really are, who does the perceiving, and it's intangible. So yeah, and who decides what we perceive? That is also us, like that innate being that we are. Mm.
Yes, it is not the situation, it is the meaning which we give to every situation. And
That's the
depends
second
on.
part. That's the
Mhm.
second part. So yes, that's the lived experience, like the meaning that we give to everything is the second part. But before that, there's the one who decides that we are going to perceive something. And that
Yes.
decision is a spiritual decision. It's not something that we make like as this identity, but as the spirit, the soul being that we inhabit.
Mhm. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Um, so we are a soul, and we inhabit our this physical body, our mind inhabits that soul being, and
Mhm.
and that soul being is outside and inside of us, like outside and inside this physical body, and yeah, and it informs, like it's not it is the mind, what I call the mind, or the spirit. No, no, it's not quite the same. But I just want to distinguish the fact that the brain, our perceptions come through our brain often, and so yeah, it processes the data, our brain, but our mind, our soul, and our soul being, um, they're the source of inspiration, so to speak.
So what you want to say that our brain and our mind is different, right? So people conditioned to think from brain, like about just what they can see, what they can get information from five senses. Yes,
Yes.
this is our logic, this is our intellect, and this is ability to think. Yes,
Mhm.
but what we have to do is thinking from our mind, right? Like
Comes.
learning how to see things beyond this physical reality which dictates us. Because
Mhm.
if we just make our decisions based on physical reality of our uh, past experience, we will
Mhm.
not be able to create anything new because our brain just knows what was in the past and we just can do the same. But
Yes.
what you want to say is just to use our mind, right? We are spiritual beings, so our mind is not a brain; it is much bigger.
Mm.
Yes, and we have those high mental faculties such as realization, imagination, intuition. Yes, this is much more bigger than the brain. So when
Yes.
we make decisions, we should come from that part, how
Yes.
we feel, not
Yes.
only logically, but because the brain is just a few percent of our potential, right?
Mhm.
So when it comes to decision, if we just make decision based on our experience and what information we have in our brain from past, we are not going too far. Yeah, we
Mm.
will not be too far from where we are now. So
We'll
if
just
you
keep doing the
really,
same thing over and over again. Yeah.
yes, this is what
The
creates the
loop.
loop. Yes, this is what creates the loop. So the
Mm.
only way to come out of this loop and start doing something different, this is how to use your mind to come from high mental faculties. Start
Yes.
thinking what you really want, what is your why, and start using your imagination to start seeing yourself as that person. This is how we speak about like discovering yourself because it comes from you. So you discover what you really want, right?
Mm.
And
But in
recreate
between that,
yourself
there's a
as being that person. Yeah.
in between that there's a whole path because that's say the outcome that we would like to see. But
Mhm.
then in between, like coming from this place where people operate like within the loop, like regurgitating the past really, it's then people need to have that hunger of, well, whatever I've done in the past, it didn't work, there's no change, and no matter what kind of changes I'm trying to make, nothing is changing, everything keeps being the same. And so that's when people often get into a crisis, which is a good thing, because that's when a person also comes to the place where they feel like, I've had enough of, I need to, something needs to happen, something needs to change. And it's them who needs to change, but not by by manipulation. Yes, by manipulation, but there's two ways of manipulating people. It's like with positive, like I'm not for NLP, for example, because it puts blocks into the mind. And I'm big on people actually being able to tune into, well, the pain body, as Eckhart Tolle calls it, the pain body that has all the information that we need to tap into to be able to transform what's in that pain body and release it. And so that's the clearing processes that I offer, as well as the art therapy processes, but also then the education around, well, how did that come into being? Those dynamics, how did they come into being? How was that created over time in space, which is the human conditioning? And so that's why I teach people also about what the human condition actually is, which includes like the stuff on paradigms and implants, that we have been inserted by ideas and also ideologies and ways of thinking, and well, that's all pretty much the same, but it's been inserted into our psyche without us being aware of it, which is an implant. And it happens still, like when you look at the news, we're being implanted by all sorts of subliminal messages, and and we believe that they're true, and so you start to live according to those implants, and basically you've given our power away, and then start to, as you said earlier on, we look for external authorities to rescue us, which of course is ridiculous, like, oh, it's ridiculous, that's the game, that's how the game plays itself out. But the more and more we actually look and unravel what's actually going on, how the game is being played out, we get our power back, and we become our own authority and autonomous, truly autonomous.
Yes. Thank
And we
you so much. Yes, you wanted to say
Yeah, and that's when we also can start to teach other people, which is so exciting.
yes,
Once
yes.
we, yeah. Mm.
Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and having this wonderful conversation.
Mm.
And
Mm.
I'll
Thank you.
see you again in our future episodes. There are so
Yes.
many things we can speak about.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Elena. It's been beautiful talking with you.
You're most welcome.